Hi, everyone. I'm Jess, and I'm the content manager here at Course Report. Course Report helps people navigate the world of technical skills boot camps, whether you're figuring out which skills to learn, where to apply, or how to fund your boot camp or program journey. Today, I'm so happy to have Danielle Cook joining us to talk about their Yellowtail boot camp experience. Danny graduated from Yellowtail Tech in January 2024 and is now a junior Linux system administrator at Leidos. Leidos is super cool. It supports the NASA Marshall Space Flight Center. So awesome. So thank you for taking the time to chat with me today, Danny. Let's rewind back. Before enrolling at Yellowtail Tech, you were working at the security firm Allied Universal. And so at this point in your career, what prompted you to dive deeper into security through a Linux program?
Well, it really kind of started with COVID. Just realizing that I was more so, even though I was a manager, I was still an essential worker. So to me, I started to realize like, wait, hold on. I don't really want to be an essential worker. I want to work from home, you know. I really wanted to just change the trajectory of my career. I was having a difficult time with promotions, and because it was kind of like, I kind of reached the ceiling, I guess I would say. And so there were a few things that were kind of working together in that regard. In 2022, um, I decided that just off of the encouragement of Amazon tech people and friends that were already in tech, they encouraged me to kind of start from the beginning, which was Linux. I had no idea what Linux was about. And so I had a friend that was helping me kind of research what was like the best courses for me. I knew that I wanted to have a teacher, someone who would hold me accountable, someone I can ask questions. And the friend that was helping me had a friend that actually went through Yellowtail. So he told me to take a 10-minute call, and I took a 10-minute call with them. And I was so excited. It just seemed like this was going to be something that I could grow in. And that was something that was really, really important to me, growth. And so, after just getting enrolled and getting started, I had the best teacher, and so that kind of helped me, kind of dig my heels into Linux and know that this is something that I really wanted to do.
What were your career goals when you enrolled in the program? Did you have like a certain job title that you were hoping to get?
Um, I I didn't really have a job title per se. They did let us know about different job titles that we could go into
Hmm.
with just having the basis of Linux. But I was kind of open to, because I didn't know really anything about tech. So I didn't really know which area I really wanted to go in. And so when it came to me applying for jobs, I mostly just stuck with the systems admin because that's what I got a certification in. So I was kind of open. I'm still open. I'm still learning. I'm still trying to figure out, where I want to be in the next 5, 10 years.
That's cool. When you were researching different boot camps, different programs, what stood out about Yellowtail Tech? You mentioned that the instruction, the live instructors was a key piece.
Yeah, that honestly, that sold me right there. There were different programs, different boot camps where you could learn on your own. And I think it's just really about knowing yourself. That was really, really important to me that I had someone that was going to be there for me to ask questions. I'm a person that if I don't understand something, I'm going to ask. And so having someone, a live person to be able to answer my questions and even break things down in a more simpler form. Sometimes when you're just taking a boot camp, when, the information is just given to you, it's just kind of given to you in one way, and it's up to you to kind of do your research and try to figure it out. But having that teacher aspect of it was the thing that really just sold me.
And did you need any coding or technical experience to get into this program at Yellowtail Tech?
No, you didn't need any. It's tailored for people who have, little to no IT
Mm.
background. But they do kind of give you like a little quiz in the beginning to kind of just see where you are. But you don't have to have any technical skills. I mean, I was in class with people who literally barely knew how to use a computer, but they were there. I mean, it was really inspiring, to see these people who aren't used to working with computers and then to just get certified. I mean, it kind of speaks to the program about how they really break things down for you and make it easy for you to understand and digest.
Hmm. Let's dive into the Linux for Jobs program at Yellowtail Tech. What did the curriculum cover? Like, what were some of the main tools and skills that you learned?
So, in the beginning, you're basically learning the foundation of Linux. If I were to describe the program, I would break it down into sort of like three parts. And so the first part is really just learning Linux, learning how to operate on the command line, and basically teaching you what you need to know in order to get certified. And then once you get certified, you go into the internship or the apprenticeship, and that's where you learn different softwares like Ansible and Terraform and Nagios, and you're learning different tools that a system admin would actually use on the job.
Very cool. It sounds like you covered a lot in such a short time. Um,
Absolutely.
so, for industry certifications, what did Yellowtail Tech prepare you for?
They prepare you for the Red Hat certification. And when I say they prepare you, they prepare you. There's like three tests that they give you, and it's kind of like, easy, medium, and then difficult. And you're just running it. They give you a set time basically at the end of your learning, and you're just, you can learn it with a group or by yourself, but their goal is to get you certified and get you moving to the next stage in the apprenticeship. So
Mm.
they really do prepare you. I feel like when I came out of the program, and especially now that I'm already hired, I can look back and see like how they actually prepared you for real world experiences in the field. They touch on a lot of different things. So you're able to speak to different softwares and say, I've done this and I've done that. They really prepare you.
Did they also prepare you for any CompTIA certifications, or was it just Red Hat?
So I do know that they modified their
Mm.
program in order to add that piece on. And I will say that that's one of the great things about their program is that they're not stuck in a box where they're just like, this is our program, and they're constantly changing it up and tweaking it and making it more equitable, for everyone. And so that's one thing that I really love about them. They did add that on to where they had study sessions for CompTIA, because they realized that in the time that we were going through the program, and towards the end, that the industry had changed. And because the industry had changed and they were asking people to have the security plus, they realized that, okay, we need to add this in, and so they're constantly doing things like that to make it more meaty for everyone.
Yeah, very cool. With the Red Hat certification exam, is that like multiple choice, or are there labs or open um, question answers? What does it look like?
Yeah, it's a mix. Um, I've never gone through an exam like that before, so I don't really have anything to like reference. Um, it's very hands-on. You can't just read about it. You have to actually be on the command line and actually, typing these things out and going over it multiple times, because it's more like troubleshooting. Like, when you get on, there's an error and you're trying to figure out what's going on. It's a part of the test. So it's and then there's some parts where you're having to select multiple choice, but it's a good mix.
Do you take that certification exam after you finish the program, or did you do it sort of midway through?
So it's broken up, like I said, it's kind of broken up into three parts. So you're studying Linux, you're learning Linux, then they give you cert prep.
Mm.
If you don't get certified, you can't move on to the apprenticeship. So they're very, very thorough when they're training you, because they want you to get that certification so you can be able to go on to the apprenticeship, and which is the next stage. So yeah.
That makes sense. How many hours a week did you feel like you committed to this program? Like, was it a full-time commitment, especially in the preparation for the exam?
Yeah, I would say specifically about the preparation for the exam, me and the group that I was studying with, we were putting in like 12, 14-hour days. Yeah, it was very intense. And I mean, this was the pressure that we put on ourselves because this is something that we really wanted to do. And they encourage you to go for the certification right away because the information is fresh, you know? And so we planned to take our test like a month out. And so we gave ourselves that 30 days to really, get in there and make sure that we were good. And so I guess to each their own, kind of, you might have to tailor it to your lifestyle or, whatever you have going on. But for me specifically, it was very important that I didn't waste any time first because I wanted to get into the apprenticeship, and also just that I knew the information.
Hmm.
And so I would just, if I could give anyone any advice, I would say prioritize your investment because it is an investment. And so you have to commit, focusing on why it is that you decided to go down the path in the first place. And so, you have to give as many hours as you feel like you need to in order for you to reach your goal.
If you were struggling at any point in this process, especially when you're in the learning about Linux module sort of at the beginning and then studying for the exam, how could you reach out for support? It sounds like you were leaning on your cohort, your peer, as well as any instructors.
Yeah, there was actually a point in time where I did fall behind. I was trying to work and do the program, and my focus wasn't 100% on the program. And so I did kind of fall behind, and we have TAs in the program and also the teacher as well. So, they're kind of monitoring, not like on you heavy, but they do kind of monitor and kind of encourage people who have kind of fallen behind. What do you need? How can I help you? What support do you need? And we had a great TA that would come on the weekends with us and help us with whatever we were struggling on, whatever concepts we didn't understand. And so there is a part where you can lean on your TA and your cohorts, but then there's the part where you actually have to do the work. And so I just had to buckle down and just get the work done. And but anything, like any help that I needed, there was TAs and everyone was supportive, down to the person that I talked to on the initial phone call, to get kind of enrolled. So everyone is hands in when it comes to your growth and making sure you're on track, 'cause they want you to win.
Hmm. Let's talk a little bit about your apprenticeship. So, what did you end up doing during that time?
So the apprenticeship is kind of structured like a real job. So you're receiving tickets, and so basically you're sort of setting up your environment to where you're clocking in, to where you're looking at what's going on, what tickets do you have, and then troubleshooting those tickets, and making sure you're documenting. So there's a lot of things that you're learning. I mentioned Ansible and Terraform. You're learning about how to troubleshoot your network and bringing up the network, taking down the network. There's a lot involved in that. And then also creating wiki pages from scratch. They want to make sure that you can say that you've done the things that a systems admin would do. For example, like the job that I'm working right now, I don't do everything that I learned, right? But there are pieces of what I've learned that, was important for me that knowledge was important for me to have, you know? And so you're giving resources, taking away resources. It's just, it's very intense. It is very intense. I will say that. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, you know. You're learning, you go through a couple tickets and then you're on to the next concept, you're on to the next tool. And so it's kind of up to you to really take those notes. And like I encourage people who came after me to screen record when you're doing your work, so because it's going so fast, there's a lot of tickets, and you're kind of going through it kind of quickly. I mean, at your own pace, you want to get done though,
Mm-hmm.
and so you can move on to the next stage. And so recording and taking notes, those things are really important so that you remember what you did, so when you go into the next phase and you're going into your mock interviews and you're creating your resume, you can be able to speak to those concepts that you learned.
That's a great suggestion. So for the apprenticeship, is that like a full-time 40-hour commitment, and for how many weeks?
It is a commitment. I don't want to say, I'm not 100% sure that it was 40 hours. I do know that you do have to put in a certain amount of hours, and they do talk about that. They do tell you about the requirements of the program. But yeah, you do have a certain amount of hours that you have to put in. You do have to clock in, so they are able to track your time. I want to say it's a 3 month,
Mm.
around about 3 months, um, of just, tickets, and so sometimes there were times where I didn't have, maybe time during the week to give, 8 hours, but I did the best that I could in 4, or 2 or 6. But yeah, the most important thing is that you're getting through those tickets and you're not falling behind.
That's so cool that it's 3 months too, because then it just gives you a bit more time than like a really abbreviated apprenticeship to kind of get in and see what the job looks like. Do you agree?
Yeah, for sure. And and I think that's why it's more so, I don't know if I would classify it as a boot camp, only because I went through a boot camp after this as well,
Mm.
for something else. And I would say Yellowtail is, it's about a year. It's about a year of commitment. There's 6 months of learning, but then, there's the apprenticeship. There's a sort of timeline, but it's kind of up to you how you get through that timeline. It's really about your commitment. So, and they're very understanding. They know that everybody has, jobs and families, and so they're willing to work with you. And so, but it's important to kind of stay on track, but I would say it probably took me about 11 months to really, from beginning to end, about 11 months.
Good to know. Let's talk a little bit about the career support. You mentioned mock interviews comes into play. What other kinds of support did you get?
So when you get out of the apprenticeship, there's a whole new group of people that are also coming out of the apprenticeship. So they create sort of like a group for you guys. And then there's a program that they use to kind of help you, or you're using it to help track your applications and your interviews and your rejections. And it's a great tool. So there's that. And then there's also a career coach as well. You meet with them weekly, and they kind of just, hey, how's it going? They're very encouraging. They let you know, like, rejection is normal, and just sort of making sure that you don't feel left out. Like, you don't feel like, oh, it's over now, and okay, like, good luck. It's
Hmm.
not like that at all. There's that support system that's there, and there's also people that are also sort of going through the same process, and they're cheering for you, for your wins, and they want you to let people know, like, hey, I got an interview, and people are rooting for you. And there's even people that want to help you with like your interviews, so it's kind of like a family in a way, kind of like fraternity or sorority or something like that. Like once you're in type of thing, you know what I mean? And so everyone is rooting for you and wanting you to win.
Mm.
So
That's great that you have that support from the experts, like the career coaches, as well as other people in the trenches with you trying to get that
absolutely.
job. How long did it take you from like wrapping up the program to getting the Leidos role? Like, how many months were you in the job search for?
I started in February 2023
Mm.
and I finished in January 2024
Mm.
with the mock interviews. And from then until April 2025 is when I finally was able to get my foot in the door.
Was Yellowtail there for you as a resource this whole past year as you were job searching?
They were. I also went through another boot camp just to kind of keep myself busy in the interim time. And so, you know, they're there for you for sure. But I was just, for me, I was just trying to like stay busy and,
Mm.
you know what I mean? And kind of keep learning. But they're always there. You
Mm.
can always reach out to them. The career coach never like, you know, gives up on you or writes you off or anything like that. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, they're there for you, like, you know, as much as you want them to support you, they're there for you.
Well, congrats on this new job at Leidos. This is a huge win. That's
Thank you.
awesome, especially now knowing all of that work and effort you put in to get this role.
Yeah.
Um, so when you were applying for the job, was Leidos like interested in your Yellowtail Tech experience and or your certification?
Actually, this opportunity came from LinkedIn. And so that's another thing that I wanted to encourage people is to make sure that you're optimizing your LinkedIn, because recruiters are, you know, there's a lot, you know, that they have to do, and there's a lot of applications that they're going through. But I noticed that, and that's another thing that Yellowtail actually helps you with as well, as they have someone that will help you optimize your LinkedIn.
Mm.
And so from that, I was able to get this opportunity. They kind of reached out, a few recruiters reached out, and you know, just kind of asked me about was I still looking for work and things of that nature, and they asked me for an updated resume, and then they just kind of told me about the opportunity that they were, you know, trying to fill. And I kind of had like a pre-screen type of conversation with the recruiter, and then another sort of pre-screen conversation with the account manager. And then they just kind of let me know that it would be like a one interview and done type of thing. And then they set me up with an interview with the Leidos team that works at NASA, and they interviewed me, and they said they liked my personality and stuff like that. And that's kind of how that opportunity kind of came about.
Very cool. Did you have to do any kind of technical challenge, like a take-home challenge or any kind of like in-person or online live technical challenge?
No, there was no technical challenge. I was nervous about that though, for
Hmm.
sure. There was no technical challenge, but there were technical questions. And so they were just kind of trying to gauge what it is that I knew, you know, kind of going through my resume. They really went through my resume, you know, and kind of touched bases on everything that I put on there. And yeah, they asked me a lot of technical questions, but I was able to kind of, you know, hang in there, you know, with
Yeah.
them and stuff. But I think the most important thing was that there were parts where I just didn't know, you know, and I just tried to. One thing that my career coach said was, they want to know that you're able to figure it out. Like, even if you don't know, they want to know that you're able to figure it out. And so that kind of stuck with me. And I just, you know, there was a question I didn't know. And I said, you know, honestly, I don't know, but you know, I know how to Google, I know how to get on YouTube, I know how to research whatever it is that I don't know. And that's really kind of what it comes down to sometimes in these fields, because you're not going to know everything, you know. And so finding the answer is the most important thing. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
such a good piece of advice there. So in general, what does a junior Linux administrator do? Like, what does the job look like for you now?
Um, well, Leidos supports the entire NASA network. And so, there's a team of IT people. And so everybody doesn't do everything. It's kind of broken down into pieces. And so, some people have, some people manage users, some people they troubleshoot and things like that. So I'm really just kind of coming in and learning right now about what it is that they do. And then just trying to soak in that knowledge really. So it's still very fresh to me. But just basically I'm just learning the network and what it is that Leidos actually does to support NASA. So
And since you're a junior, have they given you any kind of like mentor or a senior to sort of help you as you launch this career?
absolutely. And that's one thing that I love. I think this job is probably the best job that I've ever had. The support is unbelievable. They're like, she's a junior, we're going to work with you. And they're so open to like, wherever I kind of want to go. And there's experts, or senior people that are, in charge of different things that I've learned, and so I can touch bases with them and kind of, learn from them. And everybody is so open and, everybody's just so cool. I'm just like, wow, I feel very, very blessed that, everyone is just, they come by and, they check on me. And so it's very, very supportive.
Very cool. And you're just starting out in this career, but do you have like a next certification or a tool or a language that you're looking to get in this next year?
Um, I know for sure that I really want to get a good handle on automation. And so Ansible and Terraform are really the tools that I really want to master. And so I think in the far future, DevOps is something that I'm kind of interested in. And so I'm just taking my time, but really those are the tools that I kind of want to focus on and make sure that I'm really good with those automation tools.
So at this point in your career, was Yellowtail Tech worth it for you? Like, are you seeing that either that work-life balance, that salary, that just enjoyment in your job already?
Absolutely. I I think that that was probably the best decision that I've ever made in my entire life. That was such a pivotal decision because it literally changed everything. Like, I don't even live in the same state that I, started in. I mean, it was just like everything changed for me with that one decision.
Mm.
And so I feel like, I have the financial security to be able to support myself for the long term. I'm definitely seeing the work life balance. I've heard about it, I heard about it, but this is something that I just feel very blessed to be able to do. It's a lot of work in the beginning, but it definitely pays off. And I would just encourage anyone that if you are thinking about getting started, fully commit. There are people that I started with that didn't finish the program. There are people that I started with that they got their certification, but they didn't finish the apprenticeship. Or they got their certification, they finished the apprenticeship, but then they didn't, fully commit to the job hunt, and it kind of got dicey and they just gave up. And so it will pay off. You have to stick it out. You can't give up on yourself. And if you keep pushing, it will pay off. It will.
Well, I feel like that's the perfect place to wrap up this Q&A. Thank you so much for sharing all of your insights on this program, as well as this exciting new career, Danny. And thanks so much to all of you who are watching. We're going to be posting a transcript of this video interview on the Course Report blog with contact information for Yellowtail Tech, just in case you're interested in applying for any of their upcoming programs. And in the meantime, you can follow Course Report on LinkedIn, Facebook, and X. And if you're a bootcamp alum, don't forget to post a review of your boot camp or program experience on Course Report. Your review is a huge help to anyone who's thinking of getting into tech today.